Cullen live in 1 minute. Welcome to Lynn Cullen Live at pghcitypaper.com. Email your questions and comments to Lynn at pghcitypaper.com.
Well, hello there and a good morning, and you might notice a slight change in the way I look. Actually, I look the same, but the shot looks different. If you're watching, it's a wider shot, and which might allow our guests to ease out a little bit more. Instead of looking like we're sitting on each other's laps. And it is an HD camera, so things should be a little sharper, much to my dismay. But let us know what you think about this. I'm looking. We have a monitor in the studio, and I can't, I don't know. Is this better? Is this worse? Would you like a tighter shot? Would you like... You can sound off on this, since Jess and I have no opinion. Pretty much. I just don't want it zeroed totally in on me because, well, a camera is a harsh thing, and an HD camera is, it's unbelievable. You know, they do have special makeup that you have to wear if you're going to be on an HD camera, and you have to take it off with special stuff because soap and water won't touch it. And it's got silicone in it or something. I don't know, and it oozes into every pore, so that it flattens out your... I don't know. You can always tell when some poor soul is on and they haven't been given the makeup because you can count the pores in their face. Not a pleasant kind of task, generally speaking. So, hello, it's, Thursday. It's the 25th of April, and here we are. Normally... Mr. Sokolowski joins us on Thursday, but he is teaching something somewhere. And I think he's going to stop in tomorrow instead. So that means just you and me. And I want to start out a little bit easy, slow. Another thing you might notice is I'm wearing something I already wore this week. Jess, did you notice that? Okay, because I've worn this before, although I didn't wear it with anything under it because it was a little warmer. I have been toying, I bring this up because I have been toying with an idea which is radical, at least to my mind and to my lifestyle. What? I'm in a radical idea and I have to interrupt. Hello? Hello?
Hey, Lynn, so you got a caller already.
Yeah. And
George from Moon.
And what does George from Moon want to contribute?
I want to give you a little advice on the camera stuff. I think it's great. Finally, we can see the whole area and room for your guests and everything like that.
Yeah.
But one thing you ought to tell your technician to do. I think there's a thing called white balance. I was in photography and video.
Right. It's not white balanced.
Yeah, it needs to be white balanced because it's on the pinkish and greenish side, and the colors on your sign on the back are off.
I agree. And
they're real thin.
Right. That's what I'm seeing, too, there's a monitor over here, and I can see that. These are very bright colors, and they're not showing at all.
Right, right.
There is right.
But I think it's a great improvement. Very good job.
Okay. Very good. It's better, but The guy who just said it, I said, ask him now. Does it look a little bit better? Yeah, it still is washed out.
Yeah.
Yeah, gotcha.
Okay, but don't make it too dark either, because you're wearing some dark clothes. You got the dark computer and the dark desk and everything. Oh, here's another suggestion. Hey, if you're going to get another wide-angle lens for this and everything, why don't you tell them to put a motor on it, and then you can rotate it out to the left, and you can look out the window. We can see what's going on out the window.
Well, there's not a lot of movement out the window because it's just...
Shut up and leave her alone.
Who said shut up and leave her alone?
That's my wife in the background.
Well, there's nothing going on. There's a bunch of buildings. They're not moving. They just stand there. But you're right. You want to see
well, the weather. You always comment
see
about
the
the weather.
View? Yeah. Okay, I'll bring it up. I could sit here and play like a video game with it. We could show Jess.
Or you could even rotate it back, and we could see
Jess. My what?
Your assistant.
Yeah, Jess.
Yes.
She doesn't want to be seen.
She's hiding out. Yeah. Yeah.
She's cute.
Okay. Good job. Good job.
Thank you, George.
See you.
Okay. Bye. Good job. Just a little crisper color. That's what we need. That's all. So. Okay, so what I was saying is, so this thing I'm wearing and it doesn't look too hot on TV. I can see that. It looks like something spotted or something. But I love this thing. And left to my own devices, I would wear it probably 5 times a week. I'm thinking, and I've been thinking, I have these closets, and they're filled with clothes, and I don't wear 90% of them, hardly ever. And this thing that women have had beaten into their heads from God knows when, that you cannot wear the same thing in a week, right? Jess, do you know that rule too, even though it's not?
Do.
You do?
I wear the same thing.
On a case, you do? But, I mean, there's this, like, if you were to show up 2 days in a row wearing the same thing, people's eyebrows would go up. I'm toying with the idea of simply wearing a few things. The things I'm comfortable in, the things I like, and to hell with anybody who says, why is she wearing that damn thing again? Because it wasn't until just the last 100 years or so that people had all these changes of clothes. A woman had maybe one dress and one nice dress, one Sunday dress, and one house dress, right? And that was her dress. She was in it all the time. You know, you wash it, you wear it, you wash it, you wear it, you wash it, you wear it. I got to tell you, first of all, think of all the money you'd save. Think of all the time you'd save. You know, all that time you spend standing in front, I'm talking to ladies out here, in front of a closet, looking at all of that stuff and trying to think, what shall I wear? And then you maybe put something on and think, oh, no, take it off. And then before you're done, your bed is piled high with cast-off clothes, and eventually you get yourself out the door. And all of that when you could have just put on the thing you were wearing yesterday, which is still clean and which you felt perfectly comfortable in, but you don't because you don't want people to say, oh, my God, she's wearing that again. Think of the money you save. Think of the time you save. Think of the stress you save. This idea has been like in my head, I'd say for a few months, and it won't go away. And I'm starting to pay it a little more attention. It's the reason I said, screw it, I'm wearing this today. I don't care what anyone says, and I might in fact wear it tomorrow. I don't care. It's like my way of getting back to a simpler time. And really, when you think of the money you could save, wow. Like there's some people who only wear like black That's sort of the same kind of thing. I have 3 pairs of black pants. I have some black sweaters. I have a black this, and that's what I wear. I don't have to worry about. I so like this idea. I like this idea. Jess is looking at me like I'm nuts.
But shopping is so much fun.
Shopping is so much fun, right. So here's what you do. When you have the urge to shop, you do, but you shop for other people. You buy things and then give them to somebody else. Then you still can shop if you need to. But you yourself can stay with your little... I mean, look at the closet size in any house in this city that was built.
I have a whole room that's a closet.
Oh, you have a whole room that's a closet. Yes, but the way it was, you made a room into a closet.
Yes.
Because the closets, wherever you're living, are like meant to hold about 10 things.
Yeah.
And that's how people lived. And they were perfectly happy. Well, I'm just warning you. I really might, I feel this is the way I end up doing things. An idea percolates and it won't go away. And this one ain't going away. It's not going away. So it's possible I'm going to end up doing this. Maybe just limit myself to 6 general things. I don't know. I'm thinking of it. Laura writes, no, you're too far away. I don't notice it being clearer, but I can see more of your outfit. Big deal, huh? More of my outfit and more of the desk. Change is always an adjustment for all of us. Ask us in another week. Okay, so Laura, try to get used to it. I don't mind, and it is. I'm too white. My face looks way whiter than it is, and everything is washed out. That I do see, and I'm not wild about. I don't mind the camera backing off, but if it makes you feel a little less involved, then we'll tighten it up a little bit, maybe. I don't know. Okay, ask another week. That's a good idea. A good idea. Chris writes, bring back the old look. I liked it better when you were closer. You could see your facial expressions better. You're too far away. I do like that you can see the sign and your other guests, but they need to try to get you in closer. Okay. We'll see. Okay. I might want it a teeny bit closer, too, because I do know that my facial expressions do add a certain je ne sais quoi to the entire performance. All right. We have a call. Mm-hmm. Hello.
Hello. This is Clarence from Canonsburg.
Hello, Clarence from Canonsburg.
Thought I'd throw in my 2 cents.
Okay.
On the look. But here, the only thing I want to put in is that it looks fine to me,
yeah.
But I'm looking at it full screen on a 27-inch iMac. So there are people looking at it on smartphones, laptops, iPads. Which one do you adapt for? Because you're going to look far away on an iPhone, but on mine, you look fine.
I do?
Yeah.
Can you still see my facial expressions?
Yeah. My computer screen's as big as a TV screen,
Wow.
So I have this huge thing. But if somebody's looking at it on a phone, or
yeah,
a laptop
or an
iPad,
like
it's going to look smaller.
Yeah. Well, then I don't know what we do.
Yeah, that's right. You do what you do, and people have to adapt to it. That's all. That's my point. You can't, because you're not going to be able to please everybody because everybody's listening and watching on different devices.
Right.
Yeah.
I bet you think my idea for totally downsizing my clothes and wearing the same thing day after day after day is a good idea. I bet you think.
Yeah. When you were saying that, I'm thinking, who's the guy who invented the Mac? What's that guy's name? He died. He was a genius.
Steve
Jobs.
Macintosh dude who always wore like black turtlenecks.
Jobs.
Yeah, Steve Jobs. Yeah. You don't know. He could only have one pair of jeans and one black shirt. You would never know because that's all he wore.
That's right. And it freed him up to think about important things.
Exactly. I'm actually getting to that point, too, where it's just basically, T-shirts and jeans and a sports jacket.
Yeah.
People say, you look so nice. I'm like, that's only because it's ironed. That's jeans and a T-shirt and a sports jacket. They're ironed, that's all.
No. Yeah, I have to tell you what's happening out here. Now, the engineer who put in this new camera, just put a bunch of cardboard over this big window I have, which looks out on the beautiful city of Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
And he just did that. And I don't know if you noticed any change in the light, but he looked in and gave me a thumbs up like, that's great, and walked away. Meanwhile, my view's gone.
I was going to say, yeah, that harsh light looked like it was coming from a window.
And it should be getting darker now because now he's lowering blinds and the rest of it, lest I see anything. Here goes the rest of it. Now I'm sitting in a dark cave. What do you think about that?
I think that my computer decided, like, hey, we're going to stream, we're going to, like, buffer now.
Really?
But yeah, that's always the problem. I was like messing with like shooting film and stuff like that, and reflecting light. You basically have to make your own light. If you try to go with natural light, it's gonna be, you don't know what's going to happen.
Well,
so you know, they're going to either because that stuff coming through the window is going to be like your most harsh light. If not cardboard, like something that can diffuse the light. You know what I mean? It's, like poster board or I don't know, parchment paper.
I want to see the city.
Put a camera outside, and that way you can have a screen that shows what's going on outside the city. I say just do what you do and let the people adapt. They'll adapt. The people adapt all the time.
They do. They have to. That's right. Thank you, Clarence.
You're welcome.
Goodbye.
Bye.
Goodbye. And you can adapt to seeing like the same clothes over and over and over. Did you see who's in town tonight? He's speaking at now there goes the cardboard. He's speaking, the Reverend Jeremiah Wright is speaking tonight at the August Wilson Center. That's the minister that almost scuttled Barack Obama's presidential ambitions, as you'll recall, perhaps. So if you want to go see the Reverend Wright, he's speaking at 7 tonight. And tickets are available. Gee whiz. I was just surprised to see him. I suppose, sure, why isn't he? Why wouldn't he be wandering around talking? It's what he does. Here's another thing I want to discuss. So last night I was at CAPA to be part of another taping for this The People Speak History series. You'll recall that last May I was invited to join some real like stars like Matt Damon and Frances McDormand and John Krasinski and Emily Blunt and others, and read the words of Americans. And this is to be used for educational purposes, for history. I was always wanting so much to get a copy. I never ever saw it. You know? I mean, if you did something with Matt Damon and Frances McDormand and Emily Blunt, wouldn't you like to have it? So last night, for the first time, I saw a little promo reel for it. And amazingly, not everybody not all the performers made it onto the promo reel. But I did. I'm on the promo reel for a pretty good. You know who's on it too? A long time, longer than Matt Damon, is Vanessa German. She was on there too, man. So, and Frances McDormand's not. But anyway, they had students at CAPA doing some things that they themselves wrote. Blah 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 blah. I was asked to read one of the things that Frances McDormand had read that night. And it's actually, I think I told you the story that when I walked into the green room where we were all holed up before we went on stage, I saw McDormand. She's sitting there and looking very, her brow knitted, and she's reading this thing that she has to read. And and I walked toward her and said, "Hi, I just wanted to say," and she sort of cut me off and said, "Say this word." And she points to a word right here. And I looked and I said, peculiarly. She said, say that again. I said, peculiarly. And she tried and got tangled up. And I said, peculiarly. She said, I can't say it. She couldn't say it. She was like, peculiarly, peculiarly, peculiarly. For some reason, I could say that, and she couldn't. And I was thinking, oh, my God, here am I helping a great actress say peculiarly. Anyway, so last night, I ended up having to read this thing. I know you're thinking that I stumbled over peculiarly, but I did not. But here's what I want to tell you. The thing that she read and that I read last night is something that was written by a woman named Crystal Eastman in 1920. It's weird because I didn't think anyone was named Crystal in 1920.
Yeah,
Doesn't that seem odd? And not only was her name Crystal, way ahead of her time, but she was a serious troublemaker. And she had been called the most dangerous woman in America. She was an activist. She was a feminist. She was a suffragist. She was a socialist. She was a da-da-da-da-da-da-da, and on and on and on and on. She was a woman who did not know her place. Well, after the amendment allowing women to vote was finally passed, she wrote this piece. And it's still, this is like 100 years ago, it still sounds radical. It still sounds radical. Isn't that amazing? Or not? And essentially, she was telling the men and women of America, hey, with the passage of this amendment, I know what you guys are thinking. Well, whew, that's over. And she said, no, now we can begin. And what she talks about is to begin to allow women to be human beings instead of chattel, to allow them to enter professions, to allow them to have a choice of whether they want to only be homemakers and child raisers, which she says is the one thing that we are allowed to do. And that is serious work, she says. I mean, that is important work. It is a true service to society, and as such should be compensated economically. That's radical. She felt the government should pay stay-at-home mothers.
I agree.
And her idea that this is the only way you really free women. You value their work. I remember an author I interviewed maybe 25 years ago or something, and she had written a book called If Women Counted, I think. And in it, she was an economist, and in it she showed how the value of women's work is not reflected in our gross national product. There are no numbers attached to what a homemaker does. No value at all. However, if you took the work that those women do and had to hire people to perform those tasks, the numbers would be huge. My mother loves to tell a story of how my father, when he was very ill and nearing his end, she said somehow they were talking about the inevitable, and she said, well, it's good. I can't remember exactly how this started. No. They were talking about how it was good, actually, that she did not predecease him. Because he was helpless. He was a man. She did so much for him. If he died, she knew how to function. But in many ways, he did not. And we're talking about the sort of learned helplessness that actually this woman in 1920 talks about in this piece, too, that men embrace, and how that had to stop. And my mother had said to my father, well, you would just have to, if I die before you, she says, you're going to have to get married again really fast. And you know men do. You're going to have to get married again really fast. And he said, I will not. And she said, well, how are you going to? She said, you can't cook. You don't know how to clean. You wouldn't know how to shop. You wouldn't know how to blah, 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 blah. He said, I'm not going to get married again. I would hire a staff. There it is in a nutshell. To replace my mother, he thought, I'll hire a gardener, a cook, a secretary, a nurse, blah, 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 right? That value of women's work, still 100 years after Crystal Eastman suggested that the government pay women for this service to society of keeping the home fires burning and raising children. And she went on to say, I love this, men will not give up the privilege of helplessness without a struggle. The average man has a carefully cultivated ignorance about household matters. From what to do with crumbs to the grocer's telephone number. A sort of cheerful inefficiency which protects him. Even as a boy, he was quick to see how a general reputation for being no good around the house would serve him well throughout life. And half-consciously, he began to cultivate that helplessness. Now, my father was one of those men. He learned how not to know anything in the domestic realm. Because that is, and everything had to be done for him. My mother was away once, and I found my dad standing in the kitchen with a can of tuna fish in one hand and a can opener in the other. And he was looking at the can opener with this look of, how the hell does this thing work? So I remember saying, God, Dad, in a fully stocked kitchen, you would starve to death. That's the kind of helplessness, the privilege of helplessness. So I was just blown away by the fact that this is a feminist 100 years ago, and she sounds so unbelievably radical. I love this one line. Where the hell is it? We must institute a revolution in the early training and education of boys and girls. It must be womanly as well as manly to earn your own living, to stand on your own feet. And it must be manly as well as womanly to know how to cook and sew and clean and take care of yourself. And she said, and I know that a revolution in that regard will be the most passionately resisted. Now, it is true that a lot of men are better, and women have been able to earn their own living, and men have stepped up in some of the domestic chores. But the reality is it's not anywhere near parity. Not anywhere near parity. Maybe in your house it is, but in the vast majority, it is not. So anyway, yeah, you've come a long way, ladies, but nowhere near as far as we should. Look what time it is. My God. Oh, God, we're getting so much. Let me just quickly. I think we're getting bad reviews. Count me in, says Diane. I guess that's a positive, right? Mm-hmm. Chuck writes, that is a pitiful plant you have. It's not photographing well. It's washed out. It actually is dark green. It's healthy looking. From this distance, it looks a bit like you're growing pot in the studio. Yeah, it does, doesn't it? Well, I got news for you. It ain't. What is that thing? I don't know. Ray writes about clothing. Lynn, you're absolutely right about clothing changes. I am in the same thing 14 hours a day, 6 days a week, you lucky man. Carhartt shirt and pants, steel toes, and welder greens. I don't even know what that means. Welder greens? It is very liberating to not have to choose. And every few months, you just go to Abe's on the south side and replace what's ruined. I encourage you to pick an outfit that works for you and your needs and stick to it. Lots of closet space freed up. Ray, it's going to take me a while to get my head totally there, but I'm heading in that direction without a doubt. Joe writes, since I catch your show live and not repeated on YouTube, there is no option to enlarge the window. Now that you're farther away, I have to sit closer to my monitor and squint at the screen to see you. My eyes aren't what they used to be, believe me. For what it's worth, the older we viewers get, the closer you have to be to the camera for us to enjoy your show. Okay, I hear you. I hear you. And Denise writes, so freaky. Why is she saying that? I have been doing the same kind of thinking, Lynn. I've decided to leave only a week's worth of clothing in my bedroom closet and a bit more in the dresser. Eventually, I will get rid of things that just never get into that rotation. The idea came because I realized my house is just too crowded. I'm looking at things besides clothes to pitch to. And I was thinking about how my old family pictures have people wearing the same clothes in many of the photos. Even when I was younger, because we had little money, my school clothes were for school only and were worn more than once. I had one fancy dress. My mother worked during the week and could get the whole family's laundry done in a wringer washer on a Saturday morning. Living alone, my laundry room never seems to be empty. I have too much. It weighs me down. I'm glad to see I am not alone in thinking this is one way to relieve stress and clutter. And regarding this new TV, the new image is curved looking. Yes, it is. Look at that. There's sort of a panoramic thing. So that's a little odd. I like you closer, too, because it's more like being in the same room. But the new look will grow on us. We'll tweak. Okay? Here, I can get... There I am. I am closer now. We can go to a break, okay? We'll be right back.
Email your questions and comments to Lynn at pghcitypaper.com or call Lynn at 412-316-3381. Lynn Cullen Live will return in a moment.
Pittsburgh City Paper is seeking 10 local artists to design their own street box for our second annual public art project to be featured throughout the city of Pittsburgh. Go to www.pghcitypaper.com and click on the Art Box link for more details. The Pittsburgh City Paper Art Box Project, brought to you by the Westmoreland and Hill House Association.
Give the gift of beauty and youth this Mother's Day. Join us Saturday, May 11th for a day of rejuvenation, skincare, and fun at the Sewickley Med Spa. Purchase one microdermabrasion and Mom gets a free microdermabrasion. Log on to SewickleyMedSpa.com or call 412-259-8628 for details. Sewickley Med Spa is conveniently located in downtown Sewickley at 435 Broad Street. Happy Mother's Day from the Sewickley Med Spa.
Have a question or an opinion? Call Lynn Cullen at 412-316-3381 or email lynn at pghcitypaper.com. Now, more with Lynn Cullen Live.
Hey there, how you doing? Here's the other thing, actually serious thing. If you've, I rarely watch television news now, so I really don't know if that's where you get your news. Will you stop? He now has a fig tree outside. What is that supposed to do? Oh, Lordy. The factory collapse in Bangladesh. This follows, of course, these horrific fires in these factories in Bangladesh. Places where... Will you stop it? God!
You know, I'm just trying to make people happy.
Listen, it's impossible. First of all, they want me closer. I am too far away for them. But
do they really?
Yeah, they do, and that doesn't work. And you see, it's white. You see, it's...
Well, that can be fixed.
Okay, yes. That can be fixed. But they need... we like the wider shot, but we want it tightened a little bit because they say they're missing my face. My face! They can't see my expression. My expression. And also, we like the sort of idea that we can stretch out a little bit, but can it come in just a little more?
Well, we're running right now that's a 3.6 millimeter lens. The one we ran before is a 6 millimeter lens.
Yeah.
So the guy who called in and said about doing like a split, I could probably put both cameras online, give her the control of having you on 3.6, and then when you get your guest, go with the wider angle.
Oh.
Like, go with this.
Oh. That might be cool, Paul.
Yeah.
That might be cool.
It looks like a palm tree.
Yeah, that has to go.
It's going.
I would expect, like a myna bird to come flying out of it.
I'm just trying to...
And don't take my view away.
Am I interrupting your show?
Yes, you are.
Should I leave?
Yes, go.
Thank you
so much, though. I mean, we'll get there.
We'll leave that there.
All right. Here. That's the marijuana plant. Okay, here we go.
There you go.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, baby.
I got some easy winders in my office.
Okay. We're all set.
I'll work on the dual.
Yeah, okay.
The dual camera thing.
Great. See? Ask and ye shall receive. We'll get it together. Anyway, so the horror of Bangladesh. Now, you understand that those factories where all these poor people work are making the clothes that we buy at, you name it, the Gap, Walmart, Dress Barn, I don't know, Ann Taylor. It's all made there, almost all. And one of the reasons we can have these closets filled to the gills with too many clothes that we don't wear is because they're so cheap. If you had people making our clothes who were being paid properly and who were working in safe conditions, who were working in a place that wouldn't fall down on them or burn them to a crisp, then the clothes would be more expensive, and consequently we would have fewer clothes. But clothes now, and we have in our heads that we just buy, because we can. So I'm thinking if you drop down and really keep the wardrobe under control, you are not aiding and abetting this horror. This horror is being able to have another dress worth people dying. And I mean, I don't think I'm stretching to equate the two. Our burgeoning closets and essentially slave labor overseas in unsafe conditions. So think about that. And then it's not even if I wear the same thing every day. It then is not about my... there's a thought that just went nowhere. There is a thought that dead-ended straight into the wall. I'll drop it. A few other little things. This blew me away, and I don't know if you've seen this or have gotten if this has become a big story, because I haven't seen it anywhere except this one little thing which I found on Twitter. Of the 272 people on our terrorist watch list, no, there's more than 272 people on the terrorist watch list. Of the 272 people who are on the terrorist watch list who attempted to buy firearms last year. Okay, so the terrorist watch list have thousands of people on it. 272 of those tried to buy a gun or a who knows what last year. How many of the 272 people on our terrorist watch list do you think were able to purchase a firearm?
All of them.
All of them, says Jess. Yes, all of them, all of them, all of them. You're close. You're close. It's amazing. Of the 272 people on the terrorist watch list who attempted to buy a gun last year, the GAO says, the Government Accountability Office says, 247 successfully did so. Now, you want to just throw up your hands. I mean, that's it. Okay. How can that be? Here's how it can be. Here's what the GAO says. Excuse me. This is your country. You explain it to me. The GAO report said, there is no basis to automatically prohibit a person from possessing firearms or explosives because they appear on the terrorist watch list. What? Huh? That's true. That's true. And yes, of course, the National Rifle Association is opposed to any effort to keep people on the terrorist watch list from having any difficulty whatsoever in getting their hands on guns and explosives. You know what the NRA says? It says, there's some innocent Americans that get stuck on that list, and God forbid you should keep an innocent American from being able to have access to a gun. Never mind the greater good of the fact that people who the FBI and the CIA might be sort of watching because they're considered a possible danger to the country, and we let them buy guns. Here, have another. Would you like a little black powder to go with that? Shouldn't that be a big story? Is that something you've heard of? I got that from The Hill, which covers Congress. And that is a GAO report. You cannot make it up. All right, my little bus tidbit today. I sat down next to a man, and, you know, you sit down, you don't exchange pleasantries or anything, you just sit. And I noticed he was reading, like, a magazine, and the word around here is nebby. I am curious, is what I say. And I sort of, like, eyeballed, because I thought I saw a picture of somebody that looked familiar in what he was reading. And yes, indeedy, there was a picture of Wayne LaPierre. And I looked again, and this guy is devouring Wayne LaPierre's essay, I guess, in the most recent issue, I would imagine, of the NRA's official magazine. And when he turned the page, I saw that they had highlighted, you know, made larger in boldface, a quote from somebody. I don't think it was LaPierre at this point. And it said, "I believe we are again engaged in a great civil war." And I thought, oh my God, this man was, you know, clean-cut guy, and he's reading this stuff, and he's reading it. So I often wonder, who are these people who will read Wayne LaPierre and swallow it whole and not see the absurdity of what I just said about, if you're on the terrorist watch list in the United States, you can go and buy openly an arsenal. So he was sitting right next to me. And I thought, well, if we're in a civil war, the two of us are definitely on opposite sides. And I wondered if we were speaking to each other, if it would be civil. I didn't want to start up. Ugh. Anyway, how about we take a final break and be right back.
Stick around for more with Lynn Cullen Live after this.
Go to BurkeBargains.com for great deals on gift cards from your favorite local restaurants, bars, museums, attractions, and shows. Like us on Facebook or sign up for our weekly email updates for your chance to win a family 4-pack of tickets to Kennywood. BurkeBargains.com, Pittsburgh's best bargains. BurkeBargains.com.
It's warming up outside, so get to Little's for all your spring needs. Little's has everything for men, women, and children to stay in style for this upcoming hot summer. Lots of great colors from Dansko, New Balance, Steve Madden, and much, much more. Don't forget to come visit this season's colorful handbag selection as well. Little Shoes, Pittsburgh's largest family shoe store, 5850 Forbes Avenue in Squirrel Hill.
Yeah, salad on Saturday, fruit on Friday, throw-a-ball Thursday. Water Wednesday, touch your toes Tuesday, let's move Monday, swap snacks Sunday.
60 minutes of physical activity a day and eating well can help get your child healthy. So keep them active and eating well every day. Get ideas, get involved, get going at letsmove.gov. That's letsmove.gov. A message from USDA, HHS, and the Ad Council.
You're listening to Lynn Cullen Live at pghcitypaper.com. Once again, here's Lynn Cullen.
All right. Here's a story I haven't said boo about because this is the kind of story that it has the potential. I'm always railing about people being so easily frightened. This is a story that has the potential of getting me scared. And so I've sort of been avoiding it and looking the other way and pretending it wasn't happening. But I just want to at least acknowledge that I got my eye on it. And again, I don't know how much the mainstream broadcast media are dealing with it, if at all. And it has to do with this bird flu that's popped up it's a new strain in China. Has killed a number of people there. They say it is extremely dangerous. As far as they know, it doesn't yet know how to go from human to human. And as soon as it does figure out how to do that, if it does, we could have a pandemic on our hands. But it has now spread off the mainland of China. This is the kind of thing I'm noting. And has popped up in Hong Kong. A lot of governments in that Asian Pacific area are scrambling now to figure out what to do. They're setting aside, hospitals and units where people would be quarantined if they have it. The Assistant Director General of the World Health Organization says this virus is, quote, definitely one of the most lethal influenza viruses we have ever seen. And the potential development of human-to-human spread cannot be ruled out. Right now they think it's coming from poultry to people. China has been busily, man, you don't want to be a chicken in China today, I'll tell you that. They're killing them by the millions. Whatever. They have shipped some of this over to the United States Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, and they've got their researchers working on it, seeing if they can figure anything out. But the fact is they've never seen this one before, and it is a matter of time before one of these things, mutates and is able to, reach that pandemic level. And if it's as vicious as this one appears to be, that's something. I mean, I don't know. I got my eye on it. I'm just not that I can do anything about it, but that's the kind of reality that makes me a little nervous, I must admit. And again, it fascinates me to think of the things that we human beings are afraid of. And they're usually things, of course, that we can see or imagine. They are other kinds of people, or they are bombs, or they are some threat to us, right? Our enemies have been much like ourselves, usually other human beings. And what we never acknowledge, and it just tickles me, I guess, is that our biggest enemies and the ones most successful at killing us in droves are so little you can't see them without a microscope. And because we can't see them, I don't know that we think about them enough. You are so much more likely to be brought down by a virus or a bacteria than you ever are by a terrorist. I mean, I don't know, I don't have the odds, but we worry about the wrong things. So people overreacting now to, security at the Pittsburgh Marathon. I mean, come on. I don't know. If we can't even recognize what the real threats are, if we can only perceive a threat if it's like in front of our eyes, then I would argue, making ourselves even more vulnerable. I'm not saying anything about George Bush's library being open today, although this is one of those times that all presidents, the living presidents, do come. This has become it is the proper thing to do, that whenever an ex-president opens his library, all other living presidents come. That has always been the case. And the incumbent president, the sitting president, is always expected to speak. And, of course, to say laudatory things about the president whose library is opening. So, this obviously presents a slightly ticklish problem for President Obama today because he has to speak and praise George W. Bush, who, as you know, he has invoked throughout his tenure as the guy who handed him the most screwed up mess that you could imagine. So here he has to, and it's very hard to do and to appear genuine and, proper. This is no time to do anything but praise, and yet you don't want to appear to be just an out-and-out hypocrite. So there were, in a New York Times article today, there were some speechwriters sort of saying, well, here's what you can do. And what you can do, and it's the same kind of thing that Ronald Reagan had to finesse because he was the sitting president when Jimmy Carter's library opened. And Ronald Reagan had to go and talk about what a wonderful president Jimmy Carter was. And what they managed to do, and this I'm sure, well, you look for the things that you do in fact agree upon and you go after them, or you talk about, the man himself. But this is, it's a tough thing. It also, in this article, suggested that this coming together of all people who have served as president of the United States has allowed them to get to know each other a little bit. And it was in, I guess, when Bill Clinton was president and H.W.'s library was open, that Clinton and H.W. realized they really liked each other. Huh. They just liked each other. And that friendship has, as you know, solidified and continued, and consequently the relationship between Clinton and George W. is a lot more comfortable because they are now sort of like brothers of a sort, because H.W. seems to be the daddy that was always missing for Bill Clinton, to both. So I think it's often said that when these guys get together, who are totally, I'm looking at a picture of Obama, Clinton, and W, and they're laughing with each other. I think if people who have experienced the reality, the stress, the unforgivingness of that job, that there would be reason that they would bond in some way that goes beyond politics and just to their, and speaks more of their shared experience, because they're the only people in the world who have had that experience. And there are 5 of them now, right? 2 Bushes, Clinton, Carter, Obama. Am I forgetting anybody? I don't think so. So, anyway, so that's, George's W is in the news quite a bit. I got a kick out of his mom, Barbara Bush, who strikes me as a sort of frightening battle axe. But also, if she were my grandmother, I'd probably get a real kick out of her. She, I guess, in an interview with Matt Lauer, when asked if she thought Jeb should run, she just flat out said no. No. She said, I think he's qualified, but aren't there, she says, can't just keep having the same 4 families. She says, no more Bushes. And Yes, yes, no more bushes, no more bushes. Well, you can imagine how Jeb felt when he heard that, but anyway, no more bushes. We're almost done, aren't we? Well, then I shouldn't bring up a totally new subject. The other thing that I sort of found interesting in the news is that now we learned that the CIA had attempted to get the FBI to put Tamerlan Tsarnaev on the terrorist watch list. So they flagged him and tried to get the FBI to put him on the list, and the FBI did not. And so the CIA put him on another kind of a list. But, I mean, this bespeaks, again, we thought, after 9/11 we were going to learn how to work together. That's what the Department of Homeland Security, I thought, was supposed to be this umbrella that would pull all of these lists and information together. And quite clearly, there's work to be done on that score. It doesn't seem as if that successfully happened. And there was information that could have prevented, perhaps, these two from getting to the point they got to. Of course, we learn now that even if the FBI had put him on the terrorist watch list, he still would have been able to get guns and explosives. Because after all, let the marketplace decide, I guess. Why even have a terrorist watch list if it doesn't mean anything? I guess it just means that they can't get on an airplane? Dear Lord in heaven. Okay, well, I think that's it for me, except David has something he wants to say about Bush. Remember when Bush had to give the Chinese $1 million to get our spy plane back? Pre-9/11, his first sign of incompetence. I don't remember that. I have a vague memory of it. That was before 9/11. Vague memory. So is Cheney going to be at this thing? Because, I mean, he and Bush quite clearly don't like each other, which I find fascinating. And I heard someone say, some pontificator say the other day, it's interesting, Bush, now, I guess, must feel that Cheney did him wrong in many ways. And yet never will a president be known historically in tandem with his vice president than Bush Cheney. You cannot look at that administration and just say Bush. It is Bush Cheney. And now the two of them are barely speaking. Fascinating. All right, I am done. I am fini. And we'll tweak this. Everybody calm down. We'll get the camera closer and we'll brighten things up. And maybe we'll even get 2 cameras. And Jess, who doesn't have enough to do, can also work cameras. Cool!
So cool.
Here's what Jess said. So cool.
No, I'm just kidding.
She's kidding.
Oh my gosh.
Or not.
Yeah.
What?
I can't believe you haven't been talking to the plant.
Oh, that's right. Well, okay. We got to go. We really do have to go. Have a great day.
Lynn Cullen Live, Monday through Friday from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. and archived at pghcitypaper.com. The opinions expressed on Lynn Cullen Live are those of the host and do not necessarily reflect the viewpoints of Pittsburgh City Paper, Steel City Media, and its advertisers.